So let's take a view from the other side. As American school children are familiar with globes of the earth, the ancients from the 6th century BCE, ancient Greek-speaking peoples from the 6th century BCE forward, were familiar with globes of the universe viewed from the outside. There's a very famous Islamicate globe in the Smithsonian Institution, but the Farnese sphere from the 2nd century BCE is perhaps better known. And getting familiar with it helps a Bible reader understand what exactly is being described in the book of Revelation. These globes are a collection of bands along which each planet, sun, and moon travels, with a spherical and still earth at the center. If you can look at it, you can see the earth at the center. See? They also represent the constellations along its band, the zodiac. If you look at this globe, this representation of the Farnese sphere, with Atlas removed, you can see the backs of the constellations. So try to imagine at the center of that globe is the Earth, another globe. Pictures of these globes help a Bible reader understand what Ezekiel is reporting and what John the seer is reporting. Both prophets traveled through the hole in the sky to gain a view of this universe from God's perspective. The view is from the throne of God. Ezekiel chapter 1, verse 26. Above the firmament over their heads was the likeness of a throne that looked like sapphire. And upon this likeness of a throne was seated up above a figure that looked like a human being. Revelation chapter 4, verse 2 to 3. At once I was caught up in spirit. That could literally be translated, at once I fell into trance. A throne was there in sky vault, and on the throne sat one whose appearance sparkled like jasper and carnelian. Around the throne was a halo as brilliant as an emerald. Look at those jewels that are mentioned in both those readings, and think color. Modern readers are apt to imagine this throne as a seat, but the ancients knew and saw it as a constellation. The Farnese sphere shows a throne near the North Pole over the constellations Leo and Cancer. The Romans identified a constellation as the throne of Caesar. There was also a throne for Cassiopeia. In the Vatican Museum, there is a 2nd century Common Era sculpture from the Villa Albani showing Jupiter, the head of the Roman pantheon, seated on a literal throne in the center of the zodiac, supported by Atlas. The Israelite tradition knew that God's throne was in the sky vault. The Lord is in his holy temple. The Lord's throne is in the sky vault. Matthew's Jesus knows this too. He who swears by the sky vault swears by the throne of God and by him who sits upon it. What's that saying? The sky vault is the throne of God. The prophet Ezekiel describes the constellation rather well. Quote, above the firmament over their heads there was the likeness of a throne, in appearance like sapphire, end quote. Think about those colors. The color of a sapphire is mainly yellow, but often blue, and at times orange. One might begin to imagine colors of the rainbow: red, orange, yellow, green, blue, and violet, and sometimes indigo between blue and violet. What are these the colors of in human experience? When you're going into trance, you're seeing these different color patterns. White, of course, being the highest intensity of trance, the color that almost all cultures associate with the divine. Ezekiel's description concurs. Ezekiel chapter 1, verse 28. Like the appearance of the bow that is in the cloud on the day of rain, so was the appearance of the brightness round about the throne. What's he describing? He's describing what any human being would experience going into trance. Just as the earth has an equator, so too the sky vault has an equator. That would be the Earth's equator projected out from the Earth onto the interior of the imagined spheroid sky vault. The sky vault also has a central point at the north, where the pole and the polar star are located. The yellow color of the sapphire happens to also be the color of the polar star. This is not a fixed spot, but rather the central point of control, the center of the vault of the sky, and the four equidistant constellations along the equator. The constellations orbit it. The constant North Star, the control center for the sky vault. The four living creatures that Ezekiel saw in chapter 1, verse 10, that he saw in an alternate state of consciousness, suggest four constellations at four opposite equidistant points of the equatorial zodiac. So there's a equatorial zodiac, right? Constellations around the cosmic equator. And then there's the ecliptic zodiac we're more familiar with, which follows the path of the sun, moon, and planets. The days of the week, or the deities that the days of the week are named after. These four living creatures are Scorpio man with a human face, Leo with the face of a lion, Taurus with the face of an ox, and Pegasus, which in the Middle East is not a winged horse, but rather thunderbird, a great flying creature with the face of an eagle. John the Revealer saw these same other than human persons, these other great constellations. Revelation chapter 4, verses 6 to 7. The first living creature like a lion. The second living creature like an ox. The third living creature with the face of a man. And the fourth living creature like a flying eagle. The point of the content of Ezekiel's and John's visions is not that the constellations determine human fate. Rather, since the sky vault, its planets, and its constellations were created by God at the beginning of creation, an inspired seer who can read the sky correctly by being privy to God's view of the cosmos can understand and interpret current events as reflecting God's will from all eternity. God above the sky vault sets the sky vault and its time like a clock, or maybe sets it like a system, and these thrones, principalities, dominions, and powers, these other than human persons that Israelite tradition and Mediterranean tradition interpreted as the lesser gods, they have dominions over the lands in which they are. So if you were inspired by the Spirit, you could maybe discern what the will of God is from all eternity that's going on right now. That's how they interpreted it. The difference may be difficult to grasp, though. Well, isn't that saying the same thing? It is saying that the stars and the constellations and the planets are controlling our fate. No, it's not. Essentially, it is God's will, rather than the animate constellations, that direct life and history. Even a constellation associated with the great Satan is still not in control. It's God's will that's in control. God's will is set at creation, when those constellations, those great other than human persons, came into being. Hey, thanks for watching. Just continue the playlist for the next part of the study. If you have further questions, this is good. They will get addressed, so keep watching. If you found value, please subscribe, like, and share. As always, Questions, comments, and criticisms are most welcome. God bless you.